Have you ever sat in silence, no music, no phone, no noise, and suddenly, there they are again? A face, a memory, a name you haven't spoken aloud in years. They appear, not with sound, but with weight. You've moved on, or at least you've told yourself you have. New routines, new people, new stories. And yet, in the quiet spaces between distraction and duty, they return. Why? Why does the mind resurrect someone you no longer see, no longer speak to, maybe no longer even want to remember? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds of modern psychology, believed that these recurring thoughts are not mistakes. They are not random. They are messages, signals from the unconscious mind, our hidden inner world, whispering that something has been left unresolved. The human mind is not a filing cabinet that neatly stores and forgets. It's a living, breathing ecosystem. It holds on to what is unfinished, what is emotionally charged, and, most of all, what still carries meaning. What we do not bring to consciousness, Jung said, appears in our lives as fate. And perhaps that is the truth behind why certain people seem to haunt us, not like ghosts of the past, but like chapters we were never allowed to finish writing. Maybe you're not being haunted. Maybe you're being called to look deeper. When someone keeps returning in your thoughts, it's often because something within you remains incomplete, not just the memory of them, but the emotional experience they represent. This could be love left unspoken, a goodbye never said, a wound never healed, or sometimes a lesson never fully learned. Your conscious mind may say, "I'm over it," but your unconscious, it doesn't work on time. It doesn't forget just because the calendar moves forward. It holds onto unresolved emotional energy like a tape stuck on loop, replaying itself in search of closure or peace or understanding. Think about it. Have you ever heard a song and felt a sudden ache in your chest? A scent that transported you back to a moment, a person, a feeling? That's not nostalgia. That's memory encoded in emotion. It's your unconscious, lighting up like a signal flare. And here's the truth that's hard to admit. Sometimes it's not the person we can't let go of. It's the version of ourselves that existed with them. The hopes we held, the dreams we shared, the parts of us we buried when they left. If this resonates with you, you're not alone. Subscribe to Mirror of Being for more guided reflections like this, each crafted to help you navigate the deepest parts of your inner world. Jung believed that no emotional bond truly ends unless it is acknowledged, processed, and integrated. Until then, it continues to shape your thoughts. Silently, invisibly, powerfully. The mind doesn't fixate on what is meaningless. It holds on to what demands to be understood. So the next time someone drifts into your thoughts uninvited, ask yourself this: what are they still trying to teach me? Because that person might not just be a memory, they might be a mirror. In Chapter 2, we'll explore why the people who live in your mind might not be about them at all, but about you. Hidden fears, suppressed desires, the powerful act of psychological projection. Ready to go deeper? What if the person who lingers in your thoughts is not really them at all? What if what you're seeing is not their truth, but your reflection? There's a strange and powerful force at work beneath our awareness, a quiet mechanism within the psyche. It takes the parts of ourselves we don't want to see, our fears, longings, insecurities, even our potential, and places them onto other people. Carl Jung called this projection the unconscious act of casting our inner world onto the outer one. We don't just see others as they are, we see them through the lens of everything we haven't yet made peace with inside ourselves. Think about this. Have you ever idealized someone so completely that they felt larger than life? You placed them on a pedestal, glowing with perfection, until one day, the illusion shattered, and you felt betrayed, not by them, but by the version of them you created. Or maybe the opposite. You met someone who irritated you instantly, without cause. Something about them made your skin crawl. They didn't hurt you, didn't wrong you, yet they awakened something dark within. Why? Because they touched a nerve connected to a part of you that you've been avoiding. Everything that irritates us about others, Jung said, can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The truth is, many of the people we can't stop thinking about aren't just people. They're symbols, living mirrors, reflections of our hidden self, the parts we admire but feel unworthy of, or the wounds we've buried but never truly healed. Let's go deeper. Imagine you're fixated on someone who radiates confidence, power, magnetism. You think about them constantly, not just out of attraction, but out of longing. That could be your psyche whispering, "That's a part of you," a version of you that's waiting to be claimed. Or maybe someone triggers your deepest insecurities. They remind you of your failures, your shame, your envy. They bring out a storm of emotion that feels out of proportion. That's not them. That's your shadow, the part of your psyche where repressed emotions live. And the more we deny the shadow, the more it controls us. We project it onto lovers, strangers, parents, friends. We build stories around them, but it's our own story we're desperately trying to complete. The mind, remember, does not obsess over what is meaningless. It fixates on what is psychologically significant. If this message speaks to something inside you, pause and reflect with us. Subscribe to Mirror of Being for guided journeys into the soul's mirror, where personal growth begins with truth. This is where freedom begins. When you realize that not every powerful connection is about the other person. Sometimes it's about who you were when they entered your life. Sometimes it's about the lesson they were sent to trigger. When someone haunts your thoughts, ask yourself, what do they represent to me? What part of myself do they reflect? What emotion am I avoiding by focusing on them? This shift, from obsession to observation, is the beginning of individuation, the journey to becoming whole. We stop seeking closure from others. We start giving it to ourselves. We stop blaming others for what they awaken in us. And we start asking, why was that part of me asleep in the first place? In Chapter 3, we'll explore what happens when a person transforms from a memory into an archetype, a symbol encoded in your soul. What role are they playing in your inner myth? And how can you reclaim your story? Don't miss it. Tap the bell, and let's keep unfolding this mystery together. There comes a moment when a person stops being just a person in your mind. They become something else, larger, deeper, symbolic, a quiet force shaping your inner world long after they've left your outer one. You no longer remember the exact color of their eyes, but you remember how they made you feel, the ache, the wonder, the longing. And that feeling has grown roots. Carl Jung believed that within each of us lives a cast of ancient characters, universal patterns of thought and feeling passed down through generations. He called them archetypes. They are the blueprints of the soul, the lover, the warrior, the mother, the shadow, the child, the guide. And sometimes, someone enters our lives not just to play a role, but to awaken an archetype that was sleeping inside us. Maybe the person who lingers in your mind was never meant to stay, but meant to spark something. Perhaps they were the mentor, not just a teacher of facts, but a revealer of paths. Their wisdom shaped a version of you that would never have existed without them. Or maybe they were the lover, but not just a romantic fantasy. A mirror reflecting your capacity for vulnerability, connection, and heartbreak. A doorway into your own heart. Sometimes it's the shadow who appears, the one who brought out your anger, your shame, your hidden self. the one who forced you to confront what you were afraid to see. These people become more than memory. They become myth, not myths to escape into, but myths to evolve through. Because the story you're living isn't just made of facts and dates, it's shaped by symbols, by emotions, by the ones who stirred your soul when the world felt still. And then, just when you're beginning to let go, you see a sign. A song you both loved plays randomly. A stranger says their name. You see a photo, a phrase, a moment that feels like the universe gently tapping your shoulder. Coincidence? Maybe. But Jung called this synchronicity. The meaningful coincidences that defy logic but speak to something deeper. When someone lingers in your mind and the world echoes their name, perhaps it is not a trap, but a thread pulling you toward healing, toward understanding, toward the lesson they represent in the sacred story of you. What if it's not about letting them go, but letting the part of yourself that clings to the past finally feel seen? If you've felt the pull of these invisible threads, don't walk this path alone. Subscribe to Mirror of Being and join a community of seekers exploring the inner map of soul, shadow, and self. The people who stay in your thoughts aren't accidents. They're reflections. They're echoes. They're teachers wearing the mask of memory. When we stop running from their presence and start listening to their meaning, we awaken something powerful. Not obsession, not nostalgia, but transformation. Let them be what they truly are, a message from the soul. Let their role in your story come full circle, not with silence, but with understanding, not with resistance, but with integration. Because when you reclaim the story, you reclaim yourself. If this journey moves something in you, even a little, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the journey inward is never walked alone. Subscribe, reflect, return to your center. Until next time, keep walking the mirror path.